The Wendigo. According to most Algonquin oral traditions, a Wendigo is a cannibalistic monster that preys on the weak and socially disconnected. In most versions of the legend, a human becomes a Wendigo after his or her spirit is corrupted by greed or weakened by extreme conditions, such as hunger and cold. In other legends, humans become Wendigos when possessed by prowling spirits during a moment of weakness. Depending on the many First Nations that speak in Algonquin language, including the Abenaki, Siksika, Mi'kmaq, Algonquin, Ojibwe, and Innu, the spelling and pronunciation of the word Wendigo differs. Wendigo, Widigo, Wendigo, Winsigo, Widigo, and Witika are all alternative versions of the same term. Other names, such as Achen, Chinu, and Kiwok, are also commonly used to refer to a Wendigo. The Wendigo legend existed in Algonquin oral history for many centuries, long before Europeans arrived in North America. However, the first European written account of a Wendigo was by Paul Le Jeune, a Jesuit missionary who lived among the Algonquin people in the early 17th century in now what we call Quebec. In a report to his superiors in Paris in 1636, Le Jeune wrote, "This devil woman," added that the Wendigo had eaten some of the tribe that lived north of the river that is called Three Rivers, and that he would eat a great many more of them if he were not called somewhere else. But the Achen would come in his place to devour them, even up to the French fort that he would slaughter the French themselves. Father Legeuen's report demonstrates that 17th century Europeans believed in evil supernatural spirits just as strongly as their First Nations contemporaries. In fact, Father Legeuen's report predates the Salem witch trials nearly by 60 years. Missionaries in what became Canada continued to report legends of the Wendigo well into the 20th century. Stories could also be found on the western frontier in the 1800s among Plains Indigenous people and employees of the Hudson's Bay Company. Some HBC traders' records describe encounters with Indigenous spiritual leaders, claiming to descend into fits of religious passion. Indigenous people often accused these people of being Wendigos. HBC traders sometimes described them as mad. In some cases, community members or relatives of the accused would kill the suspected Wendigo as a precaution. In one example, 3 men killed Cree spiritual leader Abe Shabis after he became greedy and killed an Indigenous family, which led others to believe that he was in fact a Wendigo. Ogopogo. The Ogopogo is a fabled aquatic monster which is said to inhabit Okanagan Lake. The Salish called it Snake in the Lake. The Chinook called it Wicked One and Great Beast in the Lake. Representations appeared in pre-contact petroglyphs like Nessie, the Orm of Loch Ness. Ogopogo is variously described as having the head of a sheep or a horse and a long serpent neck, and is reported to swim with an undulating motion. It is generally cited as several humps moving rapidly through the water. The name Ogopogo is a palindrome from a comic English music hall song, Ogopogo Song. Okanagan Lake has temperamental weather conditions which might explain the apparition, and an ill-defined lake bottom, which gives rise to speculation about long-trapped dinosaur eggs being released by movements of the Earth's crust. The Qallupilliut, or Qallupilliut. The Qallupilliut or Qallupilliut are marine creatures from Inuit mythology. They are often described as having scaly and bumpy skin, not unlike sculpin. It is said that these ugly creatures and that they reek of sulfur. The Qallupilliut is a child snatcher. No one really knows why these creatures love to take children. Perhaps they take children because they are lonely and like the company. Or maybe they like how the children taste. Or is there perhaps an even darker reason for snatching children up? Many stories of the Qallupilliut tell of them wearing either duck clothing with large pouches on their back to carry children in. The Qallupilliut hides in the ocean, waiting for children to play alone on the beach or near the breaking ice. Usually, the Qallupilliut jump out of the water and grab children without any warning. Sometimes, however, you can hear them knocking under the ice. Some elders have said that if the ocean begins to become wavy in an area or steam begins to rise from the ocean, a Qallupilliut might be hiding underneath the water. But one thing is for certain. Whether Qallupilliut is hiding in the water or not, it is never safe to play alone on the beach or near the broken pans of sea ice. The Qallupilliut is most definitely a version of water-dwelling boogeyman. Loup Garou. The Loup Garou, the werewolf, is known but less widespread in French-Canadian folklore than in Europe. The Loup Garou is not always a wolf or a dog, but may also take forms as a calf or a small ox, a pig, a cat, sometimes even an owl. The spell could last for as long as 101 days, taking hold of the victim every evening, who is forced to wander the countryside in animal form. The spell might be broken if someone recognized the individual while transformed, and could draw blood from the animal. Neither person could speak of the incident for fear of worse reprisal. Anyone could fall under suspicion of being a werewolf, who had not made their Easter duty for 7 years in a row. This has been 4 Monsters or Cryptids of Canada. Thank you, and stay creepy.